41 years old. Of course, there's always
Didn't look like it. Didn't look like it.
Every back-to-back for the rest of the season is TBD. I am 41. I got the most minutes in NBA history.
True.
You know, it's out of the roof. I'm working on my game. You know, I'm really confident in myself right now, so I'm ready to go out there.
How different is it from a year ago?
It's miles different. Like I feel very confident in my game right now. So
For years, the Los Angeles Lakers carried themselves like basketball royalty, a Hollywood powerhouse glowing under bright lights and protected by prestige. The franchise looked flawless from the outside, dressed in purple and gold, while LeBron James appeared to guide the direction quietly, almost like a producer making sure every scene played out perfectly. Championships, banners, branding, and star power created an image that felt too strong to break. But one questionable decision from the front office changed the mood instantly and cracked that polished surface. The departure of the so-called Smoke Bros was more than a routine roster tweak. It disrupted the internal balance and sparked tension that could not be ignored. This was not simple gossip or sports talk drama, but real pressure building behind the curtain, the kind that tests even historic organizations. LeBron did not lash out or call anyone out directly. Instead, he stayed composed, posted a subtle message, and let silence carry the weight. There were no emotional interviews or public meltdowns, just a calm exterior that hinted something significant had shifted within the Lakers' foundation.
Really disrespectful as I possibly towards LeBron James. I am pleading with LeBron James as a father. Stop this. Stop this. We all know that Bronny James is in the NBA because of his dad. The first game of the season, opening night, the Griffies in attendance.
Have been some of the preliminary conversations you've had with your father about what's expected in the NBA and what you can expect to hear and see once you start playing?
You know, we haven't gone too deep into that stuff yet, especially because we haven't even started summer league yet. But you know, just stuff that he's been telling me my whole life, just having that work ethic and coming in and getting your work in and listening to your coaches and being coachable, stuff like that he's driven into my head my whole life.
Bronny James just dropped 39 points in the G League, and LeBron had one message: smile through it all. Most people said Bronny only made it because of his dad. Now he's silencing the critics with career highs and stat sheets that talk pretty loud. In South Bay's 122-118 win over Santa Cruz, Bronny went off. 39 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals. LeBron posted right after, keep going. From people calling it nepotism to being the first father and son duo.
Something shifted behind closed doors, and the ripple effect could redefine how this entire chapter of the Los Angeles Lakers is remembered. Imagine standing in LeBron James' position for a moment. You have carried the league spotlight for 20 years, built an empire on excellence, and now you are watching your own son fighting for space inside the organization you helped elevate. That is not routine sports tension. That is pride, legacy, and family colliding all at once. It turns quiet hallways into restless pacing and transforms timelines into instant debate arenas. The unspoken layer of this story is what fuels the noise. Critics argue that Bronny James did not storm the gates with overwhelming dominance, but rather stepped through a door many believe was already unlocked by influence and branding. His stretch with the USC Trojans men's basketball showed flashes, yet injuries and limited production left evaluators with more questions than answers. Averaging modest numbers after a frightening medical scare is a testament to resilience, but it does not silence doubts about readiness. Around the league, executives, players, and fans are watching closely, wondering whether opportunity arrived ahead of development. In a typical path, a young guard would remain in school, build strength, refine instincts, and earn trust gradually. But this situation carries symbolism too powerful to delay. Sharing an NBA floor with his son has long been part of LeBron's vision, a milestone too meaningful to postpone. The result is a developing prospect thrust into global headlines, wrapped in the protection of a massive brand while scrutiny grows louder by the day. Whatever happens next will not just shape a career, it will influence how this era of Lakers basketball is ultimately judged.
Not have the leverage to get Bryce into the NBA. And because I do think that was his plan. He may not have the leverage to keep Bronny in the NBA. And I know Bronny's got this contract, and if he sticks with the Lakers, maybe it's inevitable. But if LeBron ever has to really force his way out, that may be the end of Bronny's career. That's where LeBron has potentially miscalculated, because his greed, his desire to play with his son may end up blowing up in his face.
Now, forget all the distractions, what people are saying. That's got to feel good coming into year number 2.
Yeah, of course it does. Yeah. You know, everything is paid off. All the work, all the late nights, all the early mornings, you know, putting the right things in my body, lifting, everything. So, yeah.
What do you see as like an avenue that you might take this year? I know defensively, you know, your bouncy, the outside shot. I know defense is to me is your best, but what do you see another avenue you might improve on going forward this year?
I mean, as a PG, just being, you know, having the ball in my hands and be comfortable with the ball in my hands. And
watching Bronny James adjust to NBA speed can feel like witnessing a rookie thrown into deep water without a life vest. Bold in spirit, but clearly overwhelmed by the current. Drives into packed lanes end in heavy contact against defenders built like veterans of a different level, while defensive lapses stack up quickly enough to raise tough questions. Off the ball, the movement often stalls, spacing shrinks, and possessions lose rhythm before they ever develop an edge. There are stretches where he waits on the wing as the action unfolds elsewhere, and the offense fades without pressure or creation. If the jersey carried a different surname, the scrutiny would likely be sharper and the leash much shorter. Around this league, guards who struggle to read coverage, generate clean passing angles, or finish through contact usually earn limited minutes or developmental assignments. Instead, every small highlight becomes amplified, every routine shot framed as a breakthrough moment. This is not personal criticism. It is evaluation based on visible patterns and game tape. The NBA prides itself on competition where impact dictates opportunity, and the standard rarely bends. As the spotlight intensifies, the real test is whether growth catches up to expectation, because at this level, reputation alone cannot sustain a rotation spot for long. Every rush jumper, every missed read to an open teammate, and every drive swallowed by set defenders adds fuel to the argument that storylines are being prioritized over steady production. That tension is what unsettles so many fans. The NBA markets itself as the purest stage of competition, where only the most prepared survive, and supporters take that standard seriously. Around the basketball world, there are players thriving overseas and grinding through the G League, waiting for a call that may never come. They fight for each possession as if it decides their future, because often it does. When observers watch Bronny James drift through rotations or struggle to impose himself, frustration grows not from cruelty, but from a belief that minutes should be earned through impact. In a league where roster spots are scarce and contracts are fragile, opportunity carries weight. Every experimental drive or deep pull-up attempt represents time that could belong to someone else clawing for visibility. Organizations describe it as patience and development, but the arithmetic remains simple. Playing time is limited, and every allocation shapes competitive balance. For many viewers, the debate is less about one name and more about whether the merit-based identity of professional basketball still holds firm under the brightest spotlight. These are not harmless trials happening in a quiet gym. They are official possessions logged under the bright lights of the National Basketball Association. Every minute handed out is a minute taken from someone else battling to hold onto a roster spot. This league is built on competition where contracts are fragile and careers can shift in a week. When developmental stretches unfold on the main stage, fans naturally measure the cost. Somewhere, there is a player who clawed through summer leagues, overseas flights, and G League buses just to earn a brief window of trust. That grind shapes how supporters view opportunity. To them, playing time is currency, and it is supposed to be earned through production and consistency. So when minutes feel experimental rather than deserved, frustration grows. In a system that prides itself on merit, every allocation carries weight, and every decision echoes beyond the box score.
They had these two guys on the Bucks while also trying to sell them as the future of the team. Dude, people would be slamming Milwaukee for that. But instead, we kind of let it go because at least they're honest. We all know it's to keep their star happy, so do what you gotta do. But Bronny? From day one, it's been a lie. Like, kid missed double-digit games at USC, averaged 5 points a game after cardiac arrest. In any other world, he would return to school for another year.
The Lakers had a preseason game. There were a lot of games going on yesterday. There were the Lakers versus the Warriors. We had the Suns versus the Nets. We had the Clippers versus the Denver Nuggets, and of course the Lakers game. So I told you guys this year I'm going to be spending a little bit more time watching the Lakers, kind of understand the team. And I caught the game like I was catching bits and pieces of it. I didn't watch the game all the way throughout because I was looking for topics for today. But anyway, the Lakers had a pretty decent lead from basically cheered. It needs to be about these people being serious. It needs to be about that. Like, the Lakers need to be serious this year. And I'm one of the people that said, I believe that the Lakers are going to be able to get off to a good enough start, even with LeBron James out of the lineup. I think they're going to be competitive. I absolutely think that the Lakers have a chance to be competitive, but I'm not with all of these antics, and I don't think he should be on the roster. It just is what it is. Y'all are promoting this guy and making headlines and all of this stuff when he doesn't deserve it. There are players on that roster that deserve those headlines, for goodness sake.
Then attention shifts to the sidelines, where the coaching staff appears to be granting a developing guard unrestricted freedom in the middle of real competition. Defensive breakdowns are softened into teachable moments, and shaky offensive possessions are packaged as necessary steps in a long journey. Passive movement without the ball is framed as patience rather than hesitation. In a results-driven league, that approach raises eyebrows. The point guard role in the National Basketball Association demands command, timing, and control, yet too often possessions look rushed or improvised instead of organized. What should be steady orchestration sometimes resembles experimentation under pressure. Broadcast commentary tends to cushion each miscue, turning turnovers into bravery and missed shots into progress reports. Meanwhile, veterans fighting through summer leagues and unforgiving training camps understand how thin the margin truly is. For them, one cold stretch can close doors permanently. Consider Russell Westbrook, a former MVP who has battled through scrutiny year after year to secure every contract and opportunity. Players with that resume know that reputation does not shield performance forever. When comparisons surface between proven veterans and inexperienced prospects, frustration grows among fans who value equity in competition. Late-game possessions, where decisions must be sharp and composed, often spotlight that tension most clearly, because in those moments the difference between development and accountability becomes impossible to ignore at this level. A point guard is expected to read pressure instantly, guide teammates into position, and punish defensive mistakes with precision. Yet too often, possessions involving Bronny James end with forced attempts against stacked coverage while open options linger untouched. When three defenders collapse and a shooter waits unguarded on the wing or a big stands alone near the rim, the smart play is obvious. Choosing the contested shot instead feels less like growth and more like confusion dressed up as fearlessness. With the shot clock fading, a step-back three becomes a gamble rather than a solution, and patience disappears at the worst moment. Critics argue that honest evaluation rarely reaches full volume because the larger narrative quickly steps in. The shadow of LeBron James looms large, and his influence inevitably shapes perception around the situation. Brand power, legacy politics, and organizational caution combine to cushion the scrutiny that most young guards would face immediately in the National Basketball Association. Meanwhile, each minor highlight is amplified into proof of progress, and every mistake is softened into a lesson in development. As games pass, the conversation shifts from individual possessions to a broader question about competitive balance, leaving fans debating how flexible the league's merit-based ideals truly are under the brightest spotlight. Watching Bronny James navigate NBA minutes can feel like seeing a well-meaning intern placed inside a high-pressure boardroom deal. The effort is visible. The attitude appears positive. Teammates speak about energy and willingness to learn. Those traits matter in any locker room, but in the National Basketball Association, effort alone does not secure impact. Production does. This is a league where veterans train year-round because contracts and careers depend on nightly results. When impact fails to match opportunity, the conversation naturally shifts from potential to fairness. Around the world, players are dominating in overseas leagues or battling through the G League, hoping for even a brief call-up. For them, one bad stretch can close doors quickly. That contrast is what fuels frustration among fans who value competitive integrity. Each possession becomes symbolic, representing more than a box scoreline. When routine highlights are celebrated as breakthroughs while deeper issues remain, the spotlight grows harsher. The debate is no longer about personality or promise. It is about standards and consistency. As scrutiny builds, the larger question becomes whether the league's reputation for ruthless merit truly applies evenly to every name on the roster.